This is Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast, with your hosts, Brandon Spinner and Michael Burns.
And welcome into another episode of Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast. I am Brandon Spinner, alongside, in person, my buddy Michael Burns. This is the first time in about a year, bud. It's good to see you.
It's been about a year since you left me.
Yeah, I left you about a year ago to move to Cincinnati, Ohio. But we're not in Huntsville. We're not in Cincinnati. We're in Nashville. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can watch the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the link below. But we're at Nashville Barrel Company. Thank you, guys. We've got Kelly and James here who welcomed us in. We'll talk about some whiskey, some bourbon, some awesome stuff. So introduce yourselves. We've got James and Kelly. James, can you explain what you are?
I'm James. I'm one of the co-founders here at Nashville Barrel Company. I run the single barrel program. I do all the blending. Anything that goes in a bottle pretty much goes through me. Production, all of that.
Awesome.
Now, when it comes to the label side or creative side, far away from that as well. That's what Kelly's here for.
And Kelly, you've been here for about a year, or just under a year, right?
Get in there. It's quickly passing, which is nice. I'm Kelly. I'm our VP of brands. So I am the newest member of the team and really kind of to bring us to the next level, geographically grow, all those fun things that happen when a company matures.
Awesome. We are a bourbon and baseball podcast, but we also go into the whiskey version of the bourbon as well. So it's not just bourbon strict. Michael and I.
We had scotch even.
We had scotch.
We muscled through.
Yeah, we muscled through that one. That podcast hasn't dropped yet, but you keep an eye out for that. For those of you who can join us on Instagram, Barrels and Barrels Pod, also Facebook, Barrels and Barrels Pod, and YouTube, Barrels and Barrels Pod. If you want a t-shirt, we've got stickers as well. Head on over to our email, barrelsandbarrels@gmail.com, and we can get one of those sent out to you. So, Nashville Barrel Company, we are a bourbon and baseball podcast, but we're going to talk the bourbon and whiskey portion of it first. So, NBC, you started this, right, James?
Yes, sir.
One of the two?
Yes, sir. There's
three. Tell us the story. How did it all begin?
Yeah. So NBC started, actually, a little backstory on myself. I was born and raised right here in just south of Nashville, Tennessee. Franklin, Tennessee is where I'm from.
Okay.
But I graduated high school, joined the Navy, was on a submarine for 5 years, came back home, realized the government wasn't going to keep putting money in my bank account, and decided I had to get a job. Mm-hmm. My first job was a nighttime closer at a retail liquor store. Ended up working up into general manager. Worked up into opening my own store here in the Nashville area, and then met Mike along the way. So during that, picking barrels, doing a lot of those things around here. Did that for a decade. Well, Mike's done a ton for charity. We do some things. He does some stuff called F Cancers, one of the big ones. Raises money for some real. Yeah, exactly. Does raises for good causes. But he actually started running his barrels through my store. So that way, that charity aspect, we met through that. Started hanging out. One thing came to another. We bought some barrels. We're going to let some of our friends try them, and now we're here.
Yeah.
Did you anticipate it growing into
No,
that
sir.
when you took the liquor store job at all?
No,
It was
sir.
just
No.
it was just money in the bank account at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it was money starting off. I had no plan to make it a career. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right. It's funny how things work out.
Yes, sir.
And that was 2016?
No. When I first started, that was back at the end of 2010.
Oh, 2010.
Was
Okay.
when I got out of the Navy in September 29th, 2010. So it was October, November timeframe.
Okay. And when did Nashville Barrel Company really come together for you?
Nashville Barrel Company, we put our first bottle product out February of 2020.
Okay.
Is when it first came into the market. Now, we bought barrels, a couple of years back, so on and so forth. But the first bottle product was out in 2020.
And since then, you've exploded, really. You're everywhere, right?
We're out there.
Yeah. We're out there. Just a little humble brag there. I know, Kelly, you've been a big part of that since you came here. We were talking off camera. When you got here in June, you guys were at 6 states, you said?
6, 7-ish. Not too many. We were not in the double digits.
And you're well past double digits now.
Yeah, we should close out Q1 launching our 25th state.
Half the United States.
And yeah, that's traditional distro, not just online. With our online piece of distribution, we're hitting, I think, 42 or 46 states now. So if there's a want for Nashville Barrel, you're going to be able to find it.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
What makes you guys stand out opposed to a different distillery or different company out there, right?
I guess the easiest way to say it is we actually do tours and experiences here, which a lot of places do. One of our tours that we do is called the Friends of NBC Tour. And it's actually right in that room right there. You can see from here, Blom Brothers Distilling.
Yeah, out of
That's
Western Illinois.
Yeah, Matt and Mike Blom are real good friends.
Oh, wow.
So they did the Old Fangled Nodder back in the day. In retail, I picked the first barrels of Blom down here in Nashville.
Oh, wow, yeah.
With all that. So they're friends. Same thing, we got Pinhook, Wilderness Trail.
Yeah.
Taconic.
okay.
So we've got Taconic Maple in there. But it's called the Friends of NBC Tour. So you can come here, taste all of their product right out of their barrel, along with ours. We'll tell you what the differences are. So I'm not going to tell you mine's better than anybody else's. Ours is just going to be different, depending on what you like. Now, we definitely go through a few different processes. I taste through barrels before we put anything out. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. But at the end of the day, we're just looking for good product. That's what's going to go on.
And that's the great thing, like you said, you're not going to state that ours is necessarily better, but everyone's palate's different. When me and Brandon's tried different things, we've tried higher end stuff and lower end, and so he rates it one thing and I rate another, but we both appreciate, and that's the great thing about bourbon, whiskey, and
Yes, sir.
and the market in general.
Yeah, we almost have like a fun drinking game that say every time. I know John Edwards says it as well. Like the thing that makes whiskey great is that everybody has a different palate. So one thing may fit Michael or you, and it may not be my palate at all, but I may love something, and you're like, yeah, it's just okay.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Kelly was talking to us about truck days. Can you explain what a truck day for you is like?
I actually was planning for a truck day this morning. So next Friday, I've got another truck coming in. But yeah, we get a truckload of barrels. So we get here, typically the truck gets here before 8 o'clock. That's what our plan is. We want, because it makes our day go a lot smoother than just in the middle of the day. But yeah, we get them off, unloaded, bagged, tagged, stenciled everything, and then it's where we go through, or I'll start to go through and taste, and depending on what the product is, depending if it's a 5-year bourbon or an 8 or 9-year-old bourbon, everything's got its place. When we first started, like one of my first truckloads getting here was some 5-year-old bourbons from MGP. That's where they're from, but they were supposed to be for our a batch. I was going to blend. We bought them at like 3 years old. Planned to batch them by the taste then. Yeah. So the first truck came in, popped open one of the barrels. I had to rebung a few of them. The bungs, stuff happens, of course.
Travel.
So had to quality control them, and I QC'd a few, and I called my partner Mike. He was out of town. It's like, you want the good news or bad news? And he said, well, what do you mean? He's like, the truck just got there. I was like, yeah, I know. It's like, bad news is I don't know what we're going to do for our cask blends, because these are all single barrels. Yeah. Even though they were only 5 years old, age is nothing but a number and a mindset. If it's good, it's good.
Right.
Which I've got a 5-year-old Kentucky bourbon up here. We'll taste it whenever. It doesn't have to be 7, 8, 10 years old for it to be in a bottle. It's all about taste. Because I'll drink my 5 and 6-year-old over some of my older stuff that I have in right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, truck days are a lot of fun, and depending on what the rest of the day has planned.
Did the barrel start tasting better as the day goes on sometimes? Or
well, yes.
You stop yourself when you realize that?
Yeah, I mean, yes. Well, they have to acclimate too. That's my excuse. But no, they when they come in, a lot of times, depending on the time of year, they can be really cold, so they're not going to show like they would after they get to temperature. I say room temperature, but not outside.
Right.
Acclimate.
So that makes me sound like that. That makes me tell me that you enjoy your neat. Then you don't like it.
I drink everything neat.
Everything.
Yes. I mean, if I go out to dinner, I'm like tail here.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, that told me right there. If you needed to acclimate and get down, if it was too cold that you like it room temperature, don't mess with it. Yep, I'm the same way.
Kelly, I want to hear your side of truck days.
Truck days are fun to me because it's the best interruption to my day. Because
Yeah.
James will just come up with a little glass, a little beaker, have a taste. Oh, you're not going to believe this one. So it's literally, or if you got free time, come down here and go through them with them. And it is fun to keep it on your desk. Like he's saying, some of those barrels, that's the first time they're being opened or exposed to oxygen. So they change immensely from that first sip to, an hour later, 3 hours later. So it's a fun process. And it's like watching kind of the master at work here, we like to call him our mix master, and it's literally just a coal system. And you see that mind working at all times, and he has the calendar kind of in his mind, knowing what's coming up. And I know this will hit this market really well. I know that this group is looking for this. This will hit their palate. So it's amazing the mental capacity that goes behind purposing these barrels. You don't think of that. You're like, oh, it's a good bourbon. We can use it here or there. No, there is truly a methodical coal system that James does on truck day.
All in his head.
Mostly all in his head. We're working on getting some more of that on emails and paper, but with growth comes change. So yeah. We try to help James on the first part. That's a lot of my job.
So you poured us, was it the 8-year?
So this is an 8-year-old Kentucky.
Okay.
Now this is all of these are barrel proof, so none of this is cut.
Okay.
Whatever we taste, none of this is cut. Now this 8-year-old Kentucky bourbon, it's in an independent stave barrel, or it was in an independent stave cooperage barrel. It has a birthday beginning of September this year is when it would turn 9.
Okay.
On this. Now I believe this barrel, this is actually going to Alaska, if I recall. Yeah, this is brown jug, so store up in Alaska. But a little over 115.74 is a proof on this.
All right.
Now that's in a Nashtucky bottle, so we also have Nashtucky here. That's one of the brands that we do down. This is our Kentucky distillate.
That's the Kentucky distillate, and anything in the regular Nashville Barrel Company would be Indiana distillate?
For the most part. Now, it does say on the back whether it's distilled. Yeah. We've done a few under the NBC label with Kentucky product, but that's predominantly Nashville.
And do you get to pick them from your source, or do they just send them from you? Or send them to you, excuse me.
So, I mean, when purchasing barrels, we'll get, depending if it's from a broker, distillery, who, what, when, where, we'll get different samples. And they'll say, there's 20 in this run, 200 in this run. Okay. So we'll taste through. If I like the one that has 20, typically we'll just buy that. Don't need any more samples.
Right.
But, if there's, 100, 200, 500, however many, say, okay, go ahead and pull a few more, pull some more from that run so we can see where they're actually all at, because one really won't show what they're all like. So taste through all of these before we buy. Now, we bring them down because I don't have room here on site right now for all of our barrels.
Yeah.
So right now they're either at the distillery or the broker that we bought them from.
Yeah.
And this year, hopefully can fix that with the new warehouse we're putting out back.
Okay.
So I can get all my product on site. But right now I have to bring them down. If I need more, my 6-year-old Indiana bourbon or, my 8-year-old Kentucky. That's where, I rob Peter to pay Paul for space out here.
Yeah.
I try to keep that.
So how long from the time a barrel arrives here to the time that you get in the bottle?
Depends on that.
Lately, it's quick.
Yeah. These 8 years have really been going pretty quick, but it all depends on what it tastes like. Yeah. If you look above us, there's barrels upstairs. Okay. So this mezzanine, actually, that whole wall over there is barrels. So, it gets a lot hotter up there than it does down here. So stuff needs more time. I have a place where I...
So you are aging here?
Yes. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
And I saw out back barrels back there, too.
Everything you see out back, those are all... If they have anything, it's just water.
Oh, okay.
Because if we didn't do that, somebody jumped the fence with a drill. But
drill,
that's... Now, there are Connex bottles.
Yeah.
We've got 3 full Connex boxes out back right now as well that we're using for space inside this next room.
Yeah, when do you plan on having that fully done?
This year?
Knock on wood, knock on barrel.
Lots to find around
I was
here.
going to say, I got something somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So Meredith was telling us as we came in here that this is relatively new, this space, right? Can you tell us about the new space? Yeah. How awesome! This, for those of you, you need to watch on YouTube. Number one, if you're not watching, but we're going to have some more information out on our YouTube page, so go check us out there. But for those listening to the podcast, explain how you guys came to this process and what it's like.
Yeah. So we were just talking about the barrels for the Friends of NBC tour. So all those barrels in there have spigots. That wall was actually right here. So it was right on the other side of this, and this was all warehouse. So
we're sitting in the old warehouse.
This is warehouse. We tore that wall down the day before Thanksgiving, moved all the barrels, everything out. So this was all working warehouse, barrels, everything.
So you robbed Peter to pay Paul.
I'm telling you, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wall came down the day before Thanksgiving because we used to do all of our tours, everything in there. I'll do barrel picks out here. But we tore that down. We get a lot more use out of the space.
Yeah.
You know, people can come hang out back here. You can also rent this out for private events, football games, whatever. But we also have a room here where you can do those tours that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And you're right into action. You know, if we go in there 10 foot over from that corner, the guys are bottling. Right.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, you're in the warehouse for your tour or picks or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we made it more of an inviting feel, and you actually have space to enjoy yourself. Before our tasting bar, you saw where that is out there. That area would get cramped. You know, we have people that come from the airport with their luggage and stuff, you know, waiting to check in or waiting to go to the airport to leave, you know, and just stuff would get cramped. So this has really helped us.
Yeah, you're right here. There's the Nissan Stadium and then the new MLS Stadium right there going up. Is it finished?
It's done. Yes.
Yeah, so you got that right there, which will be a hot, for me, this is a hot spot to come before there. This is a great hangout space.
Yeah, we're 2 miles from downtown, which is great. We get experiential, purposeful visits.
Yeah.
We're not getting a lot of that walking traffic that maybe could, you know, alter somebody else's experience here. Being so airport adjacent, like James was saying, you know, we get people killing time prior to a flight or prior to a check-in. So with that being said, we're really watching kind of what our consumer demand is. And, you know, Thursday, Friday, we picked up started opening on Sunday, you know, because it's wall-to-wall people in there on, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. And it was like, okay, what can we do to, you know, make it more enjoyable? How can they hang out? We're averaging, you know, at our peak time, 600 new organic visitors through our door.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
we're like,
awesome.
how do we kind of capitalize on that and make it more of a purposeful, experiential visit? And that's where we've introduced the lounge and some more real estate here, obviously working with what we have. We've started doing a lot of private bookings, a lot of corporate stuff, you know, fantasy football drafts to a happy hour. You know, a lot of the bars and restaurants have brought their executive teams. You know, the Weston's management group, when they were in town, they had all day meetings and then did a cool happy hour tasting with James here. So it gives us kind of another pillar,
Right.
an experience to than just tasting.
So this podcast will drop after the Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl is this upcoming Sunday. Theoretically,
Be open. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really awesome. It's a really cool space. For those of you just listening on the podcast, if you're in the Nashville area, you need to come check this out. Michael and I were literally blown away.
Yeah, we walked in. You know, I have family who lives right here in Brentwood, and we almost came last weekend. We've almost come before, but I guess since this was here in November, I don't know if they know this is here. It's such an experience. And we walked in, there was the barrels here, the lights. You guys did very, very well. This is beautiful.
Michael even pointed out the staves on the ceiling. Like, I didn't notice that because the lights were a little more dim when we got here. But that's really neat touch, just like the stagnation of them. Really cool space here. Now, let's dive into a tasting, if that's okay.
Michael's
been sniffing.
I'm sniffing, all I'm drinking. It's
Yeah,
too
we've been
good.
tasting over here.
So right off the bat, what do you get, Mike?
As James was talking, you know, nothing is overly sweet, and I get that off my nose right away. I get that sweetness that I want from a bourbon. That isn't too dry, but it's not overly sweet that I'm drinking syrup, and that's immediately will get off my nose. Followed maybe even like some like mint leaf a little bit, some leaf in there. You know, if that makes sense.
There's some spices for me. I've got banana bread, really, right off the top.
If you guys see on YouTube, Brandon's really getting into his separate nostril sniffing here, and he diving right into
creme brulee, a little bit for me, like the burnt caramelized sugar almost.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm almost done with this pour here. But it drinks that way. It has the bite to it that you want though, so it's not too syrupy. It's not watery. And you're able to get that flavor without it. It doesn't taste young. Of course, it's not.
No.
Very balanced.
And then my finish here on this guy, it's not, some bourbon and whiskey can be oily and it finishes real flat and it fades real quick. This is lasting. And as I was able to make this pour here last through this introduction.
20 minutes in or whatever, yeah.
This introduction, it drinks very well and it tastes very well. It's got all the aspects of bourbon in here, of a good bourbon.
Yeah, I just smashed mine. Excuse me. And my mom always joked that I was born thirsty. Like, I chug everything, which is not great when it comes to the drinking straight alcohol.
But when you find yourself in your front lawn.
Yeah, a couple times. So we've got a Barrels and Barrels of Bourbon and Baseball podcast rating scale, which goes from Hall of Fame, top of the top, right? Only 1% of baseball players make the Hall of Fame. Very hard bar to reach. All-Stars next. We're 2 out of 3, 2 to 3 players per team.
Favorite?
Fan favorite. We like to say those are the bottles that you have backups to your backups on. That if you see it, you just buy it. And then everyday player, then that's a guy who's in the lineup every day, right? He's a contributor to the team. May not be the best player on the team, but he's consistent. He's always somebody that you want in your lineup. And as we describe it, it's always a bottle you want on your shelf or at your bar. A bench player is one that mixes it up, right? Maybe not an everyday player, but comes in off the bench when you need a spark, need a change. And then there's designate for assignment. And in the baseball world, that means go find another home. Hopefully we never rate those. But Michael, I call him the Axe Man usually. He's got all the DFAs. I've yet to do that to one. So Michael, on our Barrels and Barrels of Bourbon Baseball podcast rating scale, where's this one?
So this one is absolutely an all-star for me. I think I've only had one all-star. This is number 2 for me. So it had complexity for me. It had the flavor. It had the finish, the nose. It really just, to me, that finish is a big deal for me. That the flavor lasts, and my glass is empty, but I can still taste it 5 minutes later in my mouth. It changes as I'm talking. As air hits my palate and everything. This was an all-star, absolutely.
I'm going to go with everyday player. I like this. It's not going to be something that blows me away. No offense. I really like it. As Michael, the finish to me is the best part of this bottle. So this is the Nashtucky special release 8-year Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Michael, your second All-Star, man. I'm proud of you.
It was fantastic. I was just sitting here smelling it, and it's the empty glass.
The smile on your face.
Yeah. It smells fantastic.
So we were talking not only just bourbon off air. You looked at our hats, and you were like, you Cubs fans? You're a Cubs fan.
100%.
100%.
Oh, man.
Welcome.
Let's go.
You're in between 2 Cubs fans. Kelly, do you have a team? Houston?
Mets.
Mets?
I'm a Mets girl. Originally from New York.
Oh.
I mean, you got David Wright, so I guess we're adjacent.
Yeah.
Right, for a while there. Coaching?
Oh, David Ross is coaching.
Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ross.
But, the Mets, they've spent a lot of money this offseason. They spent a lot of money this
Certainly
offseason.
have.
I love what Cohen came out recently and said, I don't feel bad that you guys aren't spending your money. You guys
Right.
have it. You guys
Well,
are
you got an
spending
owner
it.
who wants to spend. But you have some baseball ties, too. How'd you become a Cubs fan, number one?
My family, my mom's side of the family is from Chicago. Grew up, I've got a picture, or my mom has a picture when I was like 4 years old outside the field on Halloween in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah.
It was just blood. Had to, but
Yeah.
glad it happened, I
Yeah.
guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, you said was it your grandma?
My great-grandmother,
Okay.
she lived directly outside of Wrigley Field. Players used to park in her driveway and
So,
stuff like that.
literally like out the door, like straight out of left field, basically.
Forget the exact address.
Yeah, you don't have to put it in. Was that part of the development that they tore down? Oh, wow. For those who don't know, the Cubs just spent millions and millions of dollars building a facility outside of Wrigley Field to kind of bring the neighborhood together. But that's really cool. You've got a bat here. I'm going to pull it
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us this?
You Brandon, you want to pour something else?
Oh, yeah.
It's empty
Yeah,
glass.
actually, yeah. Michael's
Michael's
Michael's all about the whiskey.
Michael's getting thirsty.
Find this alcohol stuff. So we will change this up a little bit. Now we're going to 6-year-old Indiana.
So when these come in, can you like remember like, oh, I got this in this time, or?
Yes, sir. So it's kind of weird.
Ice in his heart.
It's kind of weird. Just numbers I can associate. It's what I do every day. I guess people ask me, how do you remember this all the time? Well, I mean, it's what I do day to day. But yeah, I mean, on like this run that we're tasting right now, when these barrels come in, just on the nose, pulling the bung nose, I can tell you if it's over 120. It's just they've got a certain different nose to them once they get to that point. Like, just like having a kid, you know them the more the older they get. Type of thing.
So how did you differentiate yourself from I'm going to make this into a small batch, or this is going straight to our single barrel program? Like, what in your mind tells you that?
Well, I mean, if I would drink it as a single barrel, I mean, if it's good, that's what I like to say. You know, if I go through it, it's good, then it will move over. If it needs more time, then I'll move it over here. And then I've got certain runs that I know that I use more for blending than I would. Like, so on this, I don't really use these to blend too often, just because they do well on their own. They don't really need anything else. But some other runs that don't always meet single barrel. Of course, there's barrels in there that are single barrels that I pull to the side, but they tend to blend a little better. So for markets, kind of want to hit something that's more approachable for people that do and don't drink cast strength whiskey all the time.
Right.
So typically want something a little sweeter, a little easier, not going to burn you up on the backside.
Right.
If I'm blending for myself, it's going to be big, bold, in the face. So
That's how I am too.
Yeah, it's all dependent on or situational.
Right.
So do you have a range of proof that's your favorite that you like? Hey, you know what? This is my range. We
sweet
talk
spot,
about it all
yeah.
the time, you know, and we've heard from some other folks of what they think their sweet spot is. Do you have a range? Or
I wouldn't say like I'd be like, yeah, I gotta be within this point proof point, but typically a little towards the higher side. I'm not gonna say I'm a proof whore by any means. I mean, I've got some 9-year-old 95.5 ryes in here right now that are, you know, around 110 that just I will drink all day long. And it's just some of my go-to stuff. Then I've also got some 10-year-old 95.5. It's up in the 120s. And it drinks like it's barely in the teens.
right?
And actually, one of them, there's some blend right here that you'll be able to try. That you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But yeah, everything. I wouldn't say that I have a proof point that I have to be at, but I like to know that I'm drinking something.
And if it's good, so like you said, this one is in the 20s, but it drinks like it's in the teens. I think that in the teens, I think that's a sign and a taste that when it drinks lower than it actually is, that you're able to pull the good flavors out. The flavors out better.
Yeah.
It's not just alcohol, even though it is higher alcohol. Just like this one, actually. When y'all taste this, what do y'all think this one is proofed at?
So this
You're the
is
better-
fun with us. We've done a couple of blinds
Michael's
before.
normally
Brandon and I.
better with the proof.
So this is
Just off the nose.
just off the nose. I haven't even tasted it. Off the nose, I'm gonna say this is like about a 108.
I was thinking 114. Kelly, do you have like a favorite?
I already know.
Oh,
Well, what's your favorite range?
You know, I really try not to focus on the proof because, like James was saying, we were drinking last week that we were shocked to how low proof because they were drinking warmer. Or sometimes I'm like, gosh, this is soft. And they're like, it's 122. So I really try not to focus on the proof and just taste. And then I'm like, I mean, if it's cast strength, I'm pretty happy for the most part, to be quite honest.
Right.
And then each one kind of stands on its own. It's different.
If it drinks good, it's
If it
good.
drinks good, it's good. Exactly.
So it drinks hotter a little
Yeah.
bit. And I think that's the rye. Is this higher
the
rye?
high rye?
So this is low.
oh, this
This
is
is low rye.
75-21-4.
Okay, I would have guessed it was the 60-36.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just if it's the.
It's definitely got a mid palate spike on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it doesn't like it drinks hotter than it smells. but it doesn't necessarily drink hot. It's that dry spice that's coming out.
Yeah.
Finish softens definitely on it, which
Yes.
I mean, I aid that to the barrel.
Yeah. So, how long do you average aging here once you get it?
It depends on what the product is.
Yeah.
There's some, I mean, I've got some 5-year-olds right now, actually, 5-year-old Kentucky, which we'll get to. I mean, those things couldn't stay in the barrel another 2 years. I mean, they would take on too much. I mean, you'll be able to see there's a lot going on in that. It's all another thing, situational, but anywhere, I mean, I've still got barrels from the very first truck that came in, still here. So
It's awesome.
yeah, I mean, it depends. I'm just trying to think. I don't have an exact. I know when those came in about 3 months ago. The ones on the right came in not even a month and a half.
The horizontal ones? Or
The
standing?
Yeah, the ones behind that are stacked.
Yep.
So I know those because those over there on the left are 9 and 10-year-old rye. Those over there are 6-year-old bourbons. I know those came in on more recent than that. But it's just up in my head. I don't have a plan.
So I'm going to get weird and sciencey on this one. Being the meteorologist, we're in Tennessee opposed to Kentucky or Indiana. What do you notice age-wise, just weather and climate here, opposed to up north?
Well, I mean, down here, it's Nashville. You don't like the weather went 10 minutes. It's just one day it's 30 degrees, the next day it's 60, 70 degrees. And, that's really good for the barrels because it works. Expansion, contraction, exactly. For humans, it's not as desired, but it's great. I think we're actually doing something fun with the Blonde Brothers. So getting into location. So Matt and Mike are good friends up in Galena, Illinois. They are Cardinals fans.
Oh boy.
So
Can't hold too much against
I don't
them.
even want to talk about it, but anyway, I had to bring that up. But they are Cardinals fans. They're still the boys. But we went up there and did a run of rye. Took rye up there. Half the run is aging here. The other half is up there. We're going to release it at the same time.
Oh, awesome.
So you can see exactly what the difference with something up in Galena compared to down here in Nashville.
And is one going to be an NBC and one going to be a Blonde? Or
Oh, it's a collab logo.
Collab logo.
For all.
Awesome.
So I'm playing with that.
Yeah.
Kentucky's a little closer to us.
Right.
Similar, I would say. I mean, Nashville humidity.
Right.
You can walk outside on some days and have to, your shirt stuck to you, have to change.
So I call that a second shirt alert when I'm on TV. Is if it's past a certain humidity, I'm like, just keep a second shirt with you because you're going to sweat through the first one.
Yeah, I bring a thing of change of clothes sometimes.
So do you notice that the barrels here age faster then, or?
Well, I mean, they definitely do with that heat interaction, but if you go down to Texas,
oh yeah,
I mean, they just
angel shit there, nasty.
Yeah.
So I think they get worked really well here.
Yeah.
We also have the largest whiskey maker in the world, just south of us, Jack Daniels.
Yeah, true.
And I mean, they're pretty
They've
good.
been doing it for a couple minutes, right?
There's a reason that they are what they are, but I think we're in a prime location geographically for whiskey.
Awesome. So you said this was the low rye. I got some higher rye notes from
I
this.
would have guessed this was almost. I could have guessed this was a straight rye almost.
So what this reminds me of is the Old Forester King Ranch that we had earlier this year, which has like a creaminess to the mouthfeel, but it's got more of a rye spice. And even you mentioned mint, I think. I've got mint towards the back half. What was the proof? We never...
So off of nose, y'all said off of nose.
I said 114.
By taste. What did that change at all?
I'm still sticking about that range where I was 113 to 116.
I'm still one. I think at my first sip, I got blown away a little bit, but now that I'm set, it's got that mouthfeel. I'm able to settle into it. It's not as spicy as I thought, but I'm still going to stick.
I'm always wrong.
I'm still going to stick 108.
124.9.
Oh, wow.
So that's one of those. It doesn't drink. I've got some out there from this run that are in the teens, and they drink hotter than that one ever even thought of.
124, you said?
That's 124.92.
Wow, no.
It's right at 120.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically 125. So, Michael, where do you rate this one on our Barrels and Barrels of Bourbon and Baseball podcast rating scale?
So this is fantastic. It's got more of the rye flavor for me. I'm not a big rye guy, but this is I am being tricked because I have a neighbor who spends lots of money on bourbon, and he'll just throw me blind samples. He doesn't want to throw me the bottles; he just throws me blind samples. So I think that's where I've been able to find my ability to dig and find, different flavors and such. And he always sends me ryes, and I'm always I found now I'm starting to find ryes I enjoy. And I would have, if this was blind, I would have said this was a rye, but I enjoy it. This is good. But this is easily an everyday play for me. I would both of these bottles I would love to share. To have like, hey folks, I have this bottle here. I want you guys to try this. These are good. I would go to this one early and often.
I call these crushables because it's one of those that I have to hide in the house, right? Because it's one of those that, as Michael mentioned, going to early and often. The front half of this to me is more like the King's Ranch, and then it turns rye towards the second half to me. And like Michael, usually the rye can be overpowering to me, but this is not. This is fantastic. I'm going to go with an all-star on this one, just for the fact that I like the creaminess mouthfeel. That is what I really resonate with, where it coats the mouth. Some of them I can find that are too thin, and I call them pop roxy almost, where you feel like you've got a sparkler in your mouth. This one coats the entire mouth, and it's smooth and it's even, so that's why I'm going with this. This is a single barrel pick for Murfreesboro.
They actually are just starting to pick this up today.
Yes.
Oh, so this was just
Today.
bottled.
This was bottled yesterday.
Yeah, they picked Friday, and they're
So we do want to, so I have groups that come in. They'll come in at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll do the barrel selection. I roll it out, dump it. They go to lunch, come back, pick it up.
Oh, wow.
Same day.
So how does, say somebody wanted to do a single barrel program with you guys, how do one go about that?
Just reach out through our support, our website.
Okay.
You can do it all through there. Miss Kelly can probably tell you more of the key punching.
Yeah. I'll follow up and kind of introduce you to our barrel program, tell you how it works, where we distribute, all those fun things. And then that, as we were talking earlier, the differentiator in such a saturated market, our barrel program. We went to market as basically a single barrel house. As we've grown, obviously that has evolved. We've matured our distribution and gotten even some proof down products now in distro, which James just loves. But unfortunately, we need that because sometimes the person, that is the buyer is not going to drink a cast strength product. And, they're going to be just lit up and like, I don't like NBC because they don't know how to drink it per se or something of that effect. So we have evolved from just a barrel program to now introducing other products. But the single barrels are what we're known for. And our barrel program turnaround, like James was just saying, is where we really have the game changer. I don't know of another distillery that you can basically have a same day bottle. Some of them now I'm hearing are running 20 months to get your single barrel. At that point, do you remember what you selected? Do you remember the flavor profile?
Well, and
is it your barrel?
So much, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They tank it.
Right.
Exactly.
And they probably don't have the space or the resources for that. You take how many single barrels do you guys go through a year? Right? Like what
The
would you
number's
say?
climbing.
Right. Obviously, because you're
that number
distributing
is
more.
climbing. So.
Last month, let's just say January. What'd you do? Do you know?
Let's talk last week.
Last week. Oh wow.
What did we do? 11, at least.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's just Monday through Friday, I think.
Is that a calculating look or like
Yeah, it's
you
actually-
did some work?
He's Alan from The Hangover, Rain Manning these numbers.
Because there was 3 on Friday instead of 2.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, we're coming in Saturdays and Sundays now for barrel picks, and it's a lifestyle. It's fun. We're thankful that this is our career, but it's a fun thing, and so the demand just keeps rising. James, brought a huge award home basically for our single barrel bourbon, for such an infant brand to be really so young in our distribution and our products, to take home a double gold is kind of earth shattering in a sense in this industry. There's very few brands that have taken some of the accolades that we've taken in so quickly. All of our products we've put out have taken home some sort of remarkable award. Our 4 core SKUs at San Francisco have taken double gold, which anyone familiar with the awards industry, San Francisco's our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that's kind of like James took home basically the Heisman. He took home our best in class. Yeah. With his single barrel, actually self-named the James. Wasn't his idea, but it has worked out well in that regard. So, Henry McKenna was our predecessor. So we're following big brands. We are kind of breaking out of that mid-tier. We're in conversations with the big players, which this, somewhat small brand out of Nashville that, might grab somebody's attention, might not, to be thrown with the big guys and, the Constellations, the Camparis of this world it's a huge feather in our cap.
Well, you're just in top 6 of Fred's.
Yeah, Fred has done some great motivation behind our brand as well with some of the accolades he's thrown there. We're getting some really nice press coverage. Very cool. Uprocks just chose their first single barrel, and they chose awesome. NBC. So that's a cool thing. We had a nice feature this year through BBC, kicking off a Tennessee story about small businesses. And it's just kind of a perfect storm of this great thing that James, Mike, and the team has founded, and then now we're just kind of growing it every day, and it's a fun ride.
So what's the ultimate goal? Do you have an ultimate goal, right? Because
just to put out a good product.
Right. And so
whatever happens. It's good. Not what's involved.
Yeah. Well, like you said, this is not something you thought up or dreamt up. It just kind of happened, right?
So, yeah, we pivot more than we go in a straight line.
Definitely true.
Progress is not linear, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure 2020 helped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's times are good, times are bad. People drink, Yeah. But it's just, it changes daily with who, what, when, where, what's going on. So it's fun. Keeps us on our toes for sure.
We're an agile team. So we listen to, like I said, the demand. This room didn't exist a month ago. So that kind of aspect of it, if we get a new idea and want to launch a new brand, that Nashtucky came to market that way. So that's part of the draw, obviously, why I'm here. It's in things happen quickly.
Yeah.
If Mike Hines has an idea and he's behind it, it's executed. Wow. So that's the nice thing too. There's such a follow through here that, some brands have these great ideas or grandiose visions, but you never quite get there. Yeah. And we're there. We're making it happen. And I think the next 2 years are going to be very telling. And, my term of success is a little bit different than James. And I just want everyone to know Nashville Barrel Company. Whether you like it, you support it, or you love it, you know of it, you've heard of it. And I think that's a very powerful thing. And, we haven't done the big marketing campaigns. We don't have the celebrity backing. We have some great celebrity followers that are joining our fan club per se, but it's just really great products, great barrels, great contents in that glass, great people. And Mike and James have such a following that have really built this brand and continue to do so, and we're very fortunate to have such a loyal following. We've even created this VIP program here locally and out of state.
I saw that on your website.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. Not many brands have ever thought of something like that. Now that it's in place, we're seeing some others following trend, but they're our best brand ambassadors. They're spreading the word. They're creating the buzz. So that's something totally different than I think I've ever seen in this industry.
Yeah, he's like you said, the ultimate goal is to put out good juice, and that's what people. And then you said here, sharing with friends, family, and people who have a following with it, and I think that's the ultimate goal of bourbon. You don't have this on the shelf to collect dust. You have it to share with friends and with people and to create conversation and experiences.
It's made to drink.
Right.
It's what it's there for.
I think we had a point where someone commented on Brandon's Instagram page personally. You got a lot of bottles collecting dust up there. Brandon has made a video just for that comment where he popped open 2 or 4 bottles and was like, "What now?"
I need more people to share them with, right? And that's what I love about
So
it.
if you'd like to apply for Steve Brandon's friend to drink bourbon, it's barrelsandbarrels@gmail.com.
So everything's sourced right now. Any plans to distill or create your own?
So, it's hard to recreate the fuel.
Right.
Not broke, don't fix it. We've got some strategic partners that make good product out there that we're going to be working with for years down the road. Now, we do some fun projects like we're talking about long boats. We're going to be doing that with some other people as well. But on site right now, I don't know of any plans to bring in the full to dabble and cook here on site. People gypsy brew. Go around and do that. I mean, might go around and cook at a few more places.
Yeah, cool. All right, you've just poured us another one. 5 years.
So this is a 5-year-old Kentucky bourbon. Getting back to what Kelly was saying about San Francisco. I think right before we started, went out there for the award. We won, best single barrel bourbon of the year. Getting to baseball.
Yes.
I told you guys I got to meet a pretty cool guy that throws a baseball in the elevator with my fiance at the time. We were going to the award show, and Castillo, that pitched for the Reds, gets on the elevator, and I immediately look at her, and she could tell something was up, but didn't say anything.
Starstruck a little bit.
I think I knew. I mean, you could just tell it's. And he gets off, and I said, "Hey, you saw who that was?" And she just didn't know.
Right.
Well, we started to leave, and I opened the door for her to go out, and he actually was right behind us. I held the door for him. He said, "Thank you." And I asked him, I said, "Do you happen to throw a baseball for a living?" And he said, yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I do." He smiled, and I asked him if I could take a picture, and he 100% said yes, smiled, took multiple pictures. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, in San Fran, we were getting the award, but we stayed. Went to a Giants game that night, but the Reds were in town, and that's the whole Reds team was at the hotel.
That's awesome. Luis Castillo, and now he's on the Mariners at this point in time. I think they might be a front runner for World Series this year.
Right. They've got pitching. They've got they stay healthy.
Yeah. So baseball.
I'd be all for that to pick the Astros out of playoffs. I'm tired of it.
Well, she's a Mets fan. She can't be complaining.
Growing up in Houston,
She lived in Houston.
I grew up Astros kid, with the old Astros,
the Killer Bees.
Yeah.
Berkman, Biggio, Bagwell.
It's the NL Central Astros.
Yeah.
This is an
They're
AM
a different
West.
breed, but we were, good friends with a lot of those guys. Huda, Hampton would come to town. So I'm kind of unfazed a little bit. So it's funny, like when they come in and James just geeks out. I'm like, okay, I used to share a gym with Clemens. What's the deal? I feel like such a jerk discrediting his excitement.
I never working out with Clemens. Roger,
The Rocket. Yeah.
So you grew up. Who was your Cubs player growing up? Was it? Sammy Sosa was 9.
Well, I was about to say, with the time and my age, there's no way it couldn't be Sosa.
Yeah.
With just everything. There's a few other players that I definitely would say I'm a fan of.
That make you nervous?
Sorry, I'm pretty sure I know what that was.
If you need to,
No, it's fine.
Okay.
But there was a pitcher that went to the Braves that was a part of the Big Three.
Yeah.
Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're number 31.
So I was a big fan of that gentleman as well.
Greg Maddux.
Say Maddox. Are you playing? Or?
No, Greg Maddux. I have a
Maddox.
Greg.
Okay.
That's the first Cubs jersey I ever got. Was a Greg Maddux road jersey.
So I'd say Maddox for sure.
Mad
And
Dog,
of course, Sosa is one.
Yeah, Kerry Wood was who I grew up just idolizing. I grew up a pitcher. I still pitch in adult leagues, but I remember growing up and being like 6 years old at my uncle's house. We're playing wiffle ball, and they're calling. I'm pitching, and they're calling me Kerry Wood, and that's my memory I still have of Kerry Wood. And then we get into the 2000s where we thought we had it.
Derek Lee,
Derek Lee,
Ramirez.
Ramos was good. He's still underrated. But.
So my favorite player was never a Cub. But he was a Chicago, and Frank Thomas, because he was a stud.
I don't know how you could do that. On the South Side, have your favorite player.
Hey,
there.
man, I mean,
Eugenics.
great. Yeah, and he's and he's got now eyeglasses that he sells too.
Hurt.
Yeah, the big hurt. But yeah, my favorite Cub. I think Corey Patterson was probably my favorite Cub growing up.
Stance with the bat straight up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Oh, yeah.
he changed it a little bit. At one
Yeah,
point.
and
Not to
dipped
be-
it back
not to
down, then he
count.
hurt his knee in 2003. But like Cubs through and through. That's how Michael and and like when you said you were a Cubs fan, like our eyes lit up here.
And
so.
even you walked out of the room, we were like, "Oh my! He's a freaking Cubs fan. Let's go!"
You guys had a serious moment.
Yeah,
I
we
really
did.
felt
We
out
had
of
a total
place.
serious
I wasn't
Not
paying
gonna lie.
any attention. I looked up and I looked like that's why I pointed. I was like, yes. And then you said it too. I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I
awesome.
should have known to pay attention, but
Well, they're not standard hats. This
No,
is, you know,
it's not the standard C logo.
I just run around chasing my tail and I get squirreled, and so
Oh, yeah.
like I'm just, hey, yeah, nice to meet you guys. Sorry, let me go get some stuff. Wasn't really.
So tell us about the stuff that you got. So 5-year Kentucky bourbon.
So this is 5-year-old Kentucky bourbon, single barrel proof. This is something. I mean, I would have bottled some of these at 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I have always said, you know, I probably will never bottle a single barrel under. I mean, I could have bottled some of these at 4, but I said I wouldn't do it under 5. But getting back to that situational, if it's ready, it's ready. Now, this was actually picked by a gentleman up north, northeast. He's got a bourbon group up there, but it's a Rochester bourbon group, Rock Elite. A guy named Jeff. But this is his 5-year-old Nashtucky single barrel.
Do you know the mash bill of this guy?
I do.
Are we allowed to say it?
I cannot.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Okay, if
I
we
didn't
give
realize
away the
that.
source, I guess.
Yeah.
We're getting in that territory.
Yes. The first one I could actually, the first Nashtucky I could tell you where
What
that
was that?
went. So that first one actually came from Jim Beam.
Okay.
It's the Booker's mash.
Oh.
That was the first one?
The very first
The
one.
very first one. There we go.
The Nashtucky, the 8-year-old Nashtucky.
The all-star for me.
You're all-star.
Yeah, I
Yes.
say you're all.
You're all-star.
Yeah, this one tastes completely different and smells different than the first two.
Oh yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, I try to bring a variance, a range
right.
of stuff in here for you guys. So this,
Like, I don't even know what I smell. It's
I got
different.
an earthy feel to this one.
It's something different. It's oaky. It's oaky, but there's another aspect to it that
So-
I don't
some
know what it
people-
is.
ask if this is finished. Like these are finished a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
on this road, which they're not.
It's got more of a toasted finish kind of nose and taste to me, but not like overpowering. I got a lot of oak on the palate when I tasted it.
I would guess this is a not a high rye, but not a low rye. I would guess it's on the higher end
Again,
of the
this
rye.
is creamy to me.
But
And the nose does not match the palate to me. I got more of an earthy mint nose, and I get more of a sweet, creamy, even walnutty on the mouth. It dries towards the end, I think.
yes,
Sweet, yeah. Definitely getting that oakiness on the backside. It's good. The finish isn't as strong as the other two, I don't think. I think that this one finishes a little quicker and a little more mellower than the other two. I would guess that this is not quite as high as proof.
Okay. Would
proof? No, I think this is a little bit higher proof. I think this is like 118.
okay.
For me, the mouth. Excuse me. There's an explosion of, I think, like a rye flavor for me. It's not like a heavy rye, but the way it hits my palate and it just envelopes my whole mouth. And then it's a burst up front. There's not much. It doesn't linger. That burst does not linger. But it's still good. Very different than the first two things we've tried. But I think it is higher proof. And that could be the rye, the explosion that's throwing me off. If we're gonna play a game here a little bit, but I think
I'm playing the
I
game.
think it's about 118.
I'm going lower than 115, if I had to guess.
So this guy's 127. Yeah, on that guy.
Wow. I didn't think.
What's that beginning explosion I'm tasting? That's not the proof because it doesn't burn. It's that flavor.
I mean, you're getting a lot from the cooperage from the barrel on this. Is where I would say what you're talking about, predominantly coming from from that barrel
Okay.
itself.
So I said it finished quick, but now that like I get air to the mouth,
Hangs.
I was
It
gonna
hangs.
say,
It hangs.
you're gonna taste it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll come back around.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm feeling it in the upper lip.
When you said that, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
127. I wouldn't have guessed that.
No,
Because I have a Old Forester that's 131,
yeah,
and this drinks.
Very
this
similar.
is pretty close, and this doesn't drink like that.
that's a dangerous bottle right there.
That's a lot of these.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they flavor hides proof a lot of times.
You don't have to build up to this. They say
Right.
if you're gonna have a
Yep.
flight that you should build up. And you don't have to build up to these.
Well, and what I think is incredible is basically the same brand, right? Like Nashville Barrel Company. We did 2 of the Nashtuckies, but 3 distinct differences, all bourbon, right?
Auburn.
Yeah, because those were the 3 bourbon. You got 2 ryes up there and then a maple finish. But we just tried 3 different bourbon from the same company that tastes way incredibly different.
Completely different.
And that's really cool. What are you going with?
So the explosion was a little bit much for me. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would go to it every day.
Yeah.
But it's a great different flavor to go to. A good change of pace. So that specialty out of the bullpen kind of guy. So this is a bench player for me.
I'm going everyday player because of the crushability scariness of it. Because I would go for another pour of that. The one thing that holds it back to me is that drop in the finish at the end, where as I'm finishing the sip, it does come back and relinquish itself as you get air to the mouth. But that's the one thing that would change it for me to be a little higher up on the scale, is if I had a little bit more finish to the juice itself rather than the mouthfeel at the end.
Right.
Understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Very
Yeah,
good.
good.
It's
a
different.
great change of pace there.
Yeah.
Well, it could be, in flights I've done, like my neighbor sent me like 4 blinds, and the last one was actually a high name brand one that I trashed. Like I told him, I was like, I wanted to drain pour it, and he goes, oh, I won't say what it is, but he goes, and I was shocked. And so I think it's a lot to say that I don't know if maybe that was me leading up because I'd finished to a straight bourbon. And so I think that can affect tasting sometimes. Is if you taste it like port finished,
Oh yeah.
and so
Oh yeah.
and then
Whatever
you
you
go to like
do.
a straight rye, that straight rye is going to taste harsh.
Well, that's why. I mean, now next thing I was going to pour was going to be a rye.
Yeah, I was
Now-
going
now-
to lead it like that.
This is not going to be harsh though.
Yeah.
So this is a bourbon drinker's rye through
Yeah.
and through. This is 95.5 Indiana
Okay.
rye. At barrel proof. This is 9 years old. But like I said, this is a bourbon drinker's
Yeah.
rye.
Right.
So, I have people that come into the tasting bar. They'll come up to do a flight, small talk, ask what you want, so on and so forth. A lot of times they'll say, I don't drink rye, anything but rye. I'm like, are you sure? Have you ever had our? Or no, blah, whatever. I'm like, okay, sounds good. I'll get their flight going, and then I'll just pour something on the side. Like, try this at the. Just tell me what you think. 9 times out of 10, they're like, what is that? That's really good. I liked it. I'm like, well, I was actually wrong. Not all rye is the same.
Right.
And I understand where they're coming from, because some ryes will burn you up, spice. I mean,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
they're not the easiest thing if you don't normally drink rye. Now,
That's your glass.
yeah, but
You got to pour yourself some, man. While you're doing that, you have the bat here.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the story behind that?
yeah. So this was a lot of fun. I had a gentleman come in that actually played for the Dodgers
Yep.
back when they won the World Series. What was
2020.
that?
That was the COVID
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
Does that
So-
one really count though?
Nope. It does because we got a bat from the World Series.
If you text me after seeing this, it counts 100.
yes.
I mean, they have the rings.
If
They have the
Matt
rings.
Beaty is listening to our podcast, that would be incredible. So thank you.
It was funny when he came in, talking, shooting the crap, and he said, who's your team? I said the Cubs, and I was like, honestly, I can't stand the Dodgers. I'm just being for what
Yeah.
it is.
Did you know who he was when you were having
I knew.
Oh, yeah.
We were,
Oh,
like
okay.
we were texting all that. I just talk. I was like, can't stand the Dodgers. And about a month before, I was in Phoenix out doing a trade show thing, and get back to my hotel at night. It was actually it was in October during
Yeah.
postseason, and at the bar, and it was a Dodgers game. It was late. It was probably 10-ish something, and I'm at the bar, and I halfway gamble sometimes on
sports.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is. You can do it on an app. It's legal.
Sponsored by Fanduel. No, no free ads. We don't have any Fanduel sponsorship, but we'd like to.
I was sitting there, and then the Dodgers, I forget which game it was, but they scored, and I'm like, yes. You know, there's an older gentleman sitting 2 seats over. There's a space between us. He's like, oh, are you a Dodgers fan? I looked at him, and I had a long day, and I had a few in me. I said, F no, can't stand them. And he looked at me just confused. He said, well, why are you cheering? I said, oh, because they look like they're going to win me money. They hit the over. Eighth inning. Well, he turned to me, and he's like, oh, put his hand out. He had the Dodgers World Series ring.
Oh, wow.
He was one of their scouts.
Oh,
And I was like, oh.
I love the Dodgers.
I was like, honestly, man, still cute. I was like, that's really cool. I was like, you work for it? He's like, no. I was like, oh, what do you do now? He's like, I work for the Giants. So that's.
I think baseball people understand. Like,
Yeah.
I work for the Dodgers. Like, I hate the Dodgers. True baseball purists understand. Like,
Okay.
Dodgers, Yankees, right?
He was super cool.
Cardinals.
Uh,
I got confused for a second. I thought you had food. Do you have food here, or what's this sign here? I was looking to see because I'll be back in town this weekend, so I was like, maybe I'll make it over for. Did you have food?
I'd be asleep on the couch if we.
Right. Especially this menu.
Yeah. No, this is actually from a local restaurant that just closed down here recently. They were a staple for what, 40, 50 years?
40.
Over 40 years here in Nashville. They were nice enough to let us get their menu board. We're just holding on to it for now. They have some plans to do something in the future.
Yeah.
Whenever that's ready, they can take
Come and
whatever
grab it.
they want. But that's here. It's true Nashville. If you are from Nashville, you know what.
Yeah,
that
I've heard the name,
Yeah.
Arnold.
Yeah, so that's what
This,
it's
this says a lot about Mike and James because Khalil Arnold, who is part of the family, talked to Mike about it, and Mike's like, I'd love to have some of your memorabilia, and he's like, I can't think of a better place. So it's those Nashville roots that we're always focused on that, and no matter how large we get, no matter how many states or countries of distro, Nashville's it for this team.
Yeah.
Born and bred is a huge aspect of it, and those relationships and kind of the Arnold's piece ties into that. So it's really cool. We have something like that here.
Yeah.
Did he bring food in, or
We have food trucks
okay?
that we'll work with, and then we welcome Uber Eats, all that fun stuff. Like I was saying, we had folks in for World Cup and obviously the college playoff games. People would come in, do a flight or do one of our experiences and then hang out. We had a group in here one day, and I think they were like our record. They were here like 5 hours and had a great time.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got 3 hours to go here,
There
Michael.
you go. So we do some fun stuff like that. I'm excited for March Madness. We'll have hopefully some fun folks hanging out, and so we'll do the food truck partner, or you're welcome to bring in.
That's awesome. So we're drinking the high rye, or not the high rye, the 95.5
This is
rye. Excuse me.
95.5 Indiana rye, 9 years old. This run turns 10 the 25th of this month.
Oh wow! So just underneath. When was this bottled?
6 weeks ago?
I'll say about 2 months ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Definitely has
You guys on
the
sync there, huh?
Yeah,
That-
kind of know what's going on some days.
definitely has the high rye, not the high rye, but the rye, Indiana rye, 95.5. I get mint out of it all the time, so I've been pulling that out of a lot of the stuff today.
This barrel actually has definitely more mint to it. Some of these, if you blinded them, people would think they were bourbon.
Yeah.
Just because they're sweet.
It's not spicy though. It's drinkable. It's got a, and that's what I'm finding with good ryes is they're drinkable and they pull out the good rye flavor rather than it just being a spice. I
Bourbon
think-
drinkers rise.
Yeah.
Right.
All day
Totally. That's
Yep.
It's a
We're
good
known
rye.
for our ryes, oddly enough, which most brands kind of put their rye as their ancillary
Yeah.
product. We put that on forefront. And the fun thing about it is, that's a very common mash bill, that 95.5. But ours tend to stand quite different because of the cooperage and all that fun stuff. And the other fun fact about this product that obviously my marketing background loves is we're going for our third year of double gold at San Fran with this. So if that happens, we go to platinum
With this rye?
with this rye, our single barrel rye. It's taken double gold consecutive 2 years. If it goes double gold this year, we get elevated to a platinum award, which I can't say any mainstream brand that off the top of my head that I know has taken that.
I
So
haven't seen one in a long
Yeah.
time.
yeah,
that's awesome.
it's been a minute. So
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is that? When's the open?
announcements will be this year in June, mid-June. Mid-June.
That's very good. I mean, I crushed it already.
Gosh, you don't like it at all.
Do it over here.
Normally, I'm like, Michael, take a sip so we can start
Brandon's over
talking.
here.
Yeah, let's go. I didn't even shoot it. No. That was very good. I'm going to go first right off the bat. That's an everyday rye for me. I don't have many ryes on my bar shelf, but I would totally grab one of these. Just the crushability aspect of it. I'm not a huge mint fan with my drinks. I'll do a mint julep here or there, but very, very seldom. Not a huge fan of it. And even on the nose, it's got that strong mint, but it doesn't come out on the palate to me. It's got that bourbon rye drinker palate. It's got a lot. I got a lot more of the barrel out of that one. Obviously, 9 years, so it's been in there for a while. But very good. Really enjoyed that. It's even got like a sweet tarty candy feel towards the finish as I'm talking now.
Absolutely.
I love sweet tarts. Like that's my go-to like cocaine candy. And that's what this finish tastes like to me is I just had like 6 or 7 sweet tarts and just gobbled them up.
It makes complete sense.
Michael?
Yeah, this. It's hard because when we can taste completely different types of drinks. Brown water, I like to say, and it's hard to rate. But this is, I would keep pouring it. I would give me another. So this is easily an everyday player for me, as a rye, and I don't drink many rye, so I could easily elevate this the drinkability of it.
Where would you rate it?
If you came in here and said you only get one pour before you die, I'm drinking rye.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I've got a barrel or two laying around, but yeah, I'm drinking rye personally.
There you go.
Awesome.
I love rye. I always have.
Shows.
Yeah.
But no, I'm building up into, just through the whiskey in the market. Just rye has always been a thing that I've enjoyed.
Well, and I think that comes through with the double gold and potential here for another triple gold is that's your go-to. So you're even more, you're excelling even more on that level, which is really cool too.
Yeah, well, we're not sending any bourbon in this year. I mean, win it and then get out, right?
Right.
The thing is, last year, Mike, the reason that bottle even went in was because Mike was messing with me. We were talking about, hey, we got to send stuff out for the awards. All this, what should we send? Like, whatever, man. Like, let's send this and this and this. And he pulled the bottle out that won called the James. He said, I'm going to send this. I'm like, dude, come on. Really? He's like, it's going to win. I'm like, no, man, come on. This is ridiculous. Well, of course it won. And he used that. But, I would choose rye myself.
I'm finding that I started with just bourbon. It was flavored whiskey I got into, and then morphed into bourbon. And then my love turned into more just straight bourbons. And now I would taste rye because they were spicy, and I don't know if I was getting, I don't remember what I was tasting, but now I'm just being surprised after I am given, hey, try this rye, and I'm just being surprised more that I'm gonna have to add more ryes to my shelf.
Understand. Well, actually, the next one will show you some fun because this was the first ever blend of 2 9-year ryes that we did. Well, actually, it was a private group that came in. They were doing a single barrel pick of a 9-year with me, and they ended up picking their barrel. And of course, after every barrel pick, there's always extra in the beakers and everything. So I started blending, and they blended a couple together. Next thing you know, this happened. Instead of doing one barrel, they ended up blending two. Now this is 95.5.
Okay.
This run, it was right before this
looks
run turned 10. This will actually turn 11 in October.
Oh, wow.
So this is already 10, but it was bottled, I think, August or September. It was right before it turned 10.
Yeah.
This is 95.5 ISC cooperage, but from the first one to this one, completely different. When we're talking about differences in dry items.
Pretty big. There we go.
Yeah. It smells hotter to me, right off the nose.
I know the proof.
Yeah, you cheated, Michael.
I didn't do it on purpose. So did we finish the story of how you ended up with this bat?
No.
No.
Yeah. So,
Squirreled.
yeah, squirrel.
Just working with James Davenport all day long.
Yeah, this is it.
Yep.
We talked about how you were talking about the scout with that showed you the reins.
Met the scout out there by chance. Anyway, it came back home. So Mr. Beaty is actually from a couple hours east of here. Him and his wife. And so they came in. They enjoy whiskey. And Matt had actually had some of our product before. I forget who he said he ended up getting some from. But yeah, ended up coming by. Next thing you know, we're popping bungs on barrels, talking baseball.
Yeah.
And he ends up coming back in because they just got off a plane. They had all their luggage. And they were waiting for, I believe it was her mom or her dad to come pick them up.
Oh.
And so they had everything. So there's bags and all of this. And one of them was just a bag about, yay tall. But it's a square.
Yeah.
Just a square bag. And he had it in, and right before he left, he's like, hey, you want one of these? And he pulled out this bat, and then he pulled out a brand new bat that he had when he was at the Padres last year before he got hurt.
Yeah.
But it wasn't used like anything. And I was like, man, that's an old Dodgers bat. I was like, that's game used. He's like, well, yeah, it is. I said, well, of course, I would love to have that. So he was nice enough to give me that. He signed it and said, cheers, and all that.
That's
Pine tar on and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Walmart.
it's everything. Even the story behind like waiting and how they order compared to what they get them in at. I mean,
Right.
it was just really neat to hear the insides from somebody that has done it, has a ring. I mean, they know the.
They're playing professional.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Yes, I mean, he's doing it still today. So
I love
it was
this.
just really neat.
I love the stories of bats, like teammates like sharing bats. So like there's even the story that came out early this year with Albert Pujols
Yeah.
of how they changed the rules of bats, and it was the Astros catcher
It was, Maldonado.
Maldonado, who all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, he's got a legal bat." I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was getting him from Albert Pujols," And they changed. I forget what it was that they changed and regulated.
I believe it was the length.
Was it the barrel size?
The barrel size,
It was
yes.
the barrel
The
size.
barrel size was too big or something along those lines, but players got grandfathered in if they were still swinging it at the time. But Pujols has been in the league for 115 years, so by the time he retired, he was still grandfathered in, but Maldonado wasn't in the league at that point, so he couldn't legally swing the bat.
So like going from stories like that of guys sharing bats, or like Rizzo sharing bat
Scherzer's,
with
Matt Scherzer, back in
no Rizzo. I'm talking about Anthony Rizzo sharing a bat
with Caesar, Matt Caesar,
Yes.
Scherzer,
And-
Caesar,
right.
all the Z's,
right, and doing well. I think that's the fun part of like finding what works. Just like with bourbon, you can relate it to bourbon. Like, hey, this bat works for me. You should try it this way. Or like Rizzo in a two strike count chokes up.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's a game. Big gamer mentality there to sacrifice. I just want to poke the ball and get on base rather than I want to make sure I hit the home run. Rizzo's just, I think he's a fan favorite of all comes.
And just to circle it back, wood, right? It makes all the difference when it comes to the juice and to the game. Different type of bats swing or hit the ball differently. Maple or ash, or even I know bamboo's become a big deal. And the type of barrels that you go with. Obviously, for it to be bourbon, it's got to be in new oak barrels, but the finishing aspect of things, or even the cooperage it comes from, can totally change the game.
Huge.
Right. Do you have a favorite? Oh, I guess nope. They can't answer that question, right?
I do.
Oh, you do. Yeah. Okay. And what cooperage is that?
That I won't say.
Okay. See, that's why I was like, I'm not even going to answer the question.
You come here off air, then I'll tell you.
Yeah. Because I assume you get from multiple, right?
Right now we've got about 7 different cooperages.
Okay.
You know.
Oh, cool. And obviously that, again, plays into how the juice finishes and how it ages, right? So that's got to be a science and a skill in itself for you to know, okay, this is this cooperage. It's been in this climate. It needs to be pulled now, or we can go put it outside, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just, we're still relatively new here.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning almost daily, depending on which barrels I try, how long they've been here, what effect it's having, so on and so forth.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's daily.
That's awesome. Well, where can we find you guys other than coming here into Nashville? You guys are on the social media network. Where can we find you? Instagram, Facebook?
At Nashville Barrel Co. Across all socials, we have a website at NashvilleBarrelCo.com, and then we have a great Shopify on there. So we shipped, like I said, to most states now, 42 or 46 states, I believe.
Ship the booze.
Uh-huh.
Oh, awesome. And then could buy merchandise and stuff like that, right?
We have some fun swag on there. We also drop some special barrels on there
Okay.
that you might not be able to get in our gift shop here or just anywhere. So that's always fun to register your email and might get a surprise in your inbox. But at Nashville Barrel Co.
Oh, we never rated this. Sorry. Now that squirrels all around. Michael, what do you think? This one's harsher to me.
This is more of a heavier
This is more rye.
Rye.
I'd say this is a rye drinker's rye compared
Yep.
to bourbon drinker's rye. This is definitely going to be more rye in your face.
So up front, it's spicy.
Yep.
More of a rye. It's got less bourbon drinkability, but as it mellows out after, it lingers, and that's what I look for in a good pour. Is that lingerability? That's not a word, but I just created it here.
Yeah.
You just made it.
Call it Webster's.
And I mean, it's just hanging out. The flavor, and that's what's good about what I love about good pours is you want to be able to sip on it and make it last. You don't want to Brandon it over here and shoot it,
What are you talking about?
And it's gone.
What's wrong with that?
That's actually a barrel thing. And it's gone.
Yeah.
So that's what's good about this flavor here. And I mean, it's hard to say, hey, I don't like it, because then all of a sudden it changes. So I will give this still an everyday player here as a rye, because of that finish after. I do have that spice up front, but man, it hangs out, and I'm for it.
I'm teetering between the bench and the everyday player. For the nose to me is more of a bench for my nose. The palate is more of it drinks to an everyday player, for the fact that I'm hit more with the nose of the spice up front, and then as it mellows out on the palate, it's not quite as rye, right? It's got the spice. I got some cinnamon. I even got that caramelized vanilla sugar, almost like a confectioner sugar midway, which is kind of a different play. A little more mint on that palate than I think we had with the last rye, but I'm going to go everyday player, but I'd say the nose to me is more of a bench nose. But
There you go. So I've got so Nashville Barrel Co. Hardcore Cubs. You're a Mets fan. If Nashville were to get a team,
right.
would you be able to convert, or would you pick up a secondary team, or what are your thoughts on? For first, would you be able to? Would you welcome? Would you love that idea of a Nashville baseball
Absolutely
team?
love it. It's a great idea. So back to Arizona meeting the Dodgers guy.
Yeah.
San Fran guy. We started talking expansion because he asked where I was from and all that. I said Nashville. He's like, "Oh, you ready?" I was like, "For what?"
I love hearing that.
I was like, "For what?"
There's a lot of
Just
chatter.
trying to act
Yeah.
like I didn't think about what he was saying. He's like, "For maybe a baseball team." I'm like, "You tell me." Yeah, of course. Tell me when.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm
He's
there.
like, probably won't be too much longer for you guys. He just kind of hinted at. He didn't
Yeah.
say it was going to happen,
Right.
but
He said what he could.
it made me feel really good that hopefully we will get. And I welcome it 1,000%. It's not going to change anything. Cubs are the Cubs.
You bleed clubby blue?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All day.
I have a hard time because I would love to live like I live in Alabama Crimson Tide country, and everyone you can find that shirt. You could just walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, did you see the game Saturday?" I would love to be able to do that with baseball, and so for that reason, I'm almost a Braves fan
By
secondary
proxy, yeah.
by proxy, because if the Braves suck, no one watches baseball. So I have to kind of root for the Braves because then everybody's into baseball all of a sudden.
Makes sense.
So now I fight myself a little bit. Like I don't think I could ever leave the Cubs. Like Brandon just said, bleed Cubby blue. But to be able to have that local baseball environment right here, that would be absolutely amazing. I think Nashville is such a growing city, and I've had family living here since 2012. And has grown immensely since that. I mean, the cranes that are downtown, which just tells you, they are, I think, location,
gotta work on the roads, but
location, city, population, people that would cheer for it is the number one in the country over all these other that they're looking. They have so many. Atlanta way over here, Chicago, Cincinnati up there. Nashville would be a great Southern team that would just get a great.
Well, I'll just throw out as look as the Predators fan base, right? How incredible and insane that fan base has become.
Go to those games?
Over there at Bridgestone, right? I think that you're going to find the same type of fan base if you had a baseball team here. Obviously, baseball I think is more regional, similar to hockey too, right? So there, I'd say Nashville and Montreal would be the two cities that I think. I think the Expos are coming back. I think they are, but Nashville is a city that I think deserves a baseball team.
Expos
logo. Yeah.
Would they go back to the Expos, or could they?
They would go
Expos.
You'd have to.
Have to.
I mean, yeah. Why?
Well, okay. So you've got the Nashville Sounds as a AAA team. Yeah, what would you guys, other than the barrel companies, for a baseball team? Like, what would you name the mascot, or like what would you call the team? All right.
For an NBC team?
No. I'm saying
instead of the baseball team,
Nashville Barrel.
We would. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
I know it's a tough question.
They're going to come up with something really bad for that.
Say it's going to be great.
Yeah, I was saying that.
Let's be
I'm not
honest.
creative, but it won't be good.
I mean, that's like where I'm from, the Rocket City Trash Pandas. I was not for that Trash Pandas.
Love it. I love it.
I can see where you come from.
So I was not for that. There was something more local. So like Madison and Huntsville is very NASA and Army and Redstone Arsenal and everything, and we came up with Trash Pandas. I was really confused, but now I see it now that I've been 2-3 years into it.
As a marketing person, I think Kelly would love that.
The wheels are turning. And it would be a new origin. It wouldn't be a team you maybe borrowed from another state like you've done in the past.
Wow.
Like the Houston Oilers? I mean...
That could be a fun one. That could be a fun one to think about.
I think the thing that I see the easiest, and I think it's very generic, is the Nashville Stars. Being country music and everything.
They do love the TriStar here.
I think that's what I see a lot. And it's in the Nashville logo, right there in that Barrel
Oh,
Company.
no, there's 3 of them
So
everywhere.
Nashville Stars
It would be the
is
third
easiest.
professional team here.
Yeah.
No, that's 4th.
4th. We got the Grizzlies.
Well,
Oh, the soccer team, right?
is
The
it
Grizzlies.
a soccer team?
okay.
No,
Memphis
it's
isn't here.
I'm sorry, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. No, and
Sorry.
Nashville
Oh,
City
like,
would
oh,
be
no,
the...
it's Memphis.
Well, I guess with the FC team, it would be the 4th, technically. But it'd be the 3rd major sport, right? Because you got hockey, you've got NFL. You don't have an NBA team.
Soccer.
Right. Well, that's what I just said.
Well,
the FC
Oh,
team.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I played travel soccer for 15 years. That's what I grew up playing.
Yeah.
Soccer. And baseball. But I still don't even think of Geodis as being done. I've never even been there.
Right.
Never been.
I would love to see a Nashville baseball team. Not just the Sounds, obviously you have the Sounds, but like an MLB team, just like finally in Nashville, especially with how big the city
It
is.
makes way too much sense.
It does.
And it would, theoretically, it would help you guys out, right? Because that's more
Always.
feet coming through here, hopefully.
100%.
Butts in the door.
Yeah. So, any last things you guys want to talk about, or?
I don't think so. I mean, we kind of hit on everything.
She's the marketing one.
Yeah.
You got to ask her.
We've hit on a lot.
Did
So
you
I don't think so.
Points on the checkbox.
I think so. Thank you, James.
Well, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us here, Kelly and James. It's been a fantastic time. Michael and I were blown away the moment we walked in the door. And Michael will be here, like he's right down the street. So I have a feeling.
Yeah, I'm semi-local. You know, I have family here, but I am the one in Huntsville. The rest of my family is here in Nashville. But I'll definitely be here soon
Yeah.
with friends.
You know where to find us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're here.
So that has been another episode of Barrels and Barrels, a Bourbon and Baseball podcast. If you'd like to follow us, you can find us on Instagram, Barrels, the letter N, Barrels Pod, as well as Facebook and YouTube. Twitter, that is Barrels and Barrels because they don't allow enough characters. And then also that email is barrelsandbarrelspod barrelsandbarrels@gmail.com. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, as well as rate us and review us. We're on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Google, as well as iHeartRadio podcasts. So go find us there. Thanks again to Nashville Barrel Company for having us here. Come check them out. It's been a fantastic experience. You're going to love their juice, so come on down. Michael, any last words?
Let's go.